So welcome, ladies and Tim. Thank you so much for joining, and welcome to anybody else who's catching this on the later review of the channel. So just to remind you guys, my name is Amanda, and this is Hack Mankind. We really came together with our founder, Peter, as a mission to dispel fear and misinformation and create a unique opportunity and community for people to come together and create a new collective mindset, right? You know, right now we are in one of the scariest times of many people's lives and not knowing what's left, what's right, how to navigate it. So Hack Mankind is a channel and an opportunity to come together from the comfort of your own home and tune in and ask questions to some amazing panelists. Every day at 11 a.m. we have a different panelist coming on, and today we have Karen, and she's sharing her expertise and her wisdom throughout her multi-decades within the childcare and education sector, and she has a wealth of knowledge, not just with education and childcare, also with parenting as well. So anyone who pops in and out on this call, please feel free to share, because we know that sharing is caring. Your story is not yours to keep, it's yours to share. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Jessica and Karen. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much, Amanda. It's so beautiful to see you, and you're beautiful outside. It looks so nice, and we can hear the birds chirping. It's always so beautiful. And thank you so much, Karen, for being here. I'm so excited for this call.
Yeah.
Last week you were on the call, and so much valuable tips that you've shared with us, and for parenting and in general, right? That doesn't just apply in today's world. So much value. And thank you for taking the time. I mean, you are the founder and administrator of Voyagers Community School, and you provide an incredible platform for children of all ages, right? From 3 months to 18 years old.
Yes.
And I find that incredible. So if anybody joining us right now, please post your questions on the chat. We've got the Q&A on Zoom. And also, if you're watching this after the live, please post your questions as well, and we'll try and get back to you on our other call. Karen's here every week with us, so thank you so much, Karen. Thank you. And before we start, how has this week been for you? What have you seen? So first, how has it been for you? And then also in terms of the parents and in terms of education and kids, what have you seen showing up for the past week since we last spoke?
Yeah, so it's been a busy week. I've spent a lot of time with education thought leaders and people delivering education, superintendents and teachers and curriculum directors and so on. So it's been a very, very busy week. And on the other side of my my time has been spent with business leaders and entrepreneurs, sort of muscling through some of their issues around business and operations, but also around growing and looking for the people that they need to help them grow. So it's it's balancing these kind of two worlds that cross over. So that's been my week. It's been busy. I think in general there's a growing concern about the welfare of our children, of our parents, certainly of businesses and how they muscle through and thrive. But in general, I think just sort of where's everybody's head at? Where's everybody's head at? How are we doing? Are we okay? Teachers and people who provide for children generally put their best foot forward, and they will set aside their own stresses and their own anxieties to show children a happy face. And that's getting a bit harder. That's getting harder for parents in their homes, and it's getting harder for educators and others who come into the lives of children now in a remote way.
So thank you so much for that. And thank you for being here in the midst of all this busyness. And I bet so many of us are asking for your attention, for your advice, for your expertise. So thank you so much for taking that time. So when you're saying it's getting challenging right now, it's getting challenging, what would you say are the 3 most common at-home challenges and your response to those?
Yeah. So the first is loneliness. And although a lot of people are connecting through digital platforms, they are missing sort of the natural flow that happens when you're literally face to face together in a room. The humor, the body language, the contact, a hug, a high five, something of that sort. People are really starting to miss that. I know that children in their innocence will express that sooner, so they're expressing some of those things they're missing. But we see it, I see it in adults, in parents and grandparents and so on and so forth. How are we going to get through this? How are we going to keep our energy and our spirits up? So that's one question. I think another is for parents who now have become.
Sorry to interrupt you. Before we move into the next one, may I?
Yeah.
So when you're thinking of that, so my idea is thinking, okay, my child is expressing the loneliness. I'm feeling it. How would you recommend parents handle that?
I think first of all, it's important to say that you understand, you feel it too. I think we have to acknowledge that this is normal, and then I think it's really important to go through sort of a series of questions. Tell me more about that. Tell me what your thoughts are in terms of how we might be able to address that. Here's some of what I'm thinking we could do. How is that sounding for you? Let's make some plans. Let's do the best we can with what we have. So teaching children to express themselves, teaching children to handle the expressions of others and the feelings of others, and then to collaborate and build plans together, and then put them into place, and then assess it. Did it work? Did that work? Did that make us feel better? And you'll notice the us. Did that make us feel better?
I'm taking good notes. I love that. The first part I think is so crucial of what you mentioned is acknowledging it, right? I feel like a lot of times in relationships in general, I don't have children, so I can only imagine, is like we want to put this front, right? This front of like, everything's okay. I want to make sure that they're protected and sheltered from this pain that I'm feeling or this loneliness that I'm feeling. And just being accepting in a loving, authentic way, saying, yeah, it's tough for mom too. Yeah. It's tough for mom and dad too. And let's build on that together. And I feel like in any situation, especially right now, it's so important. So thank you so much for that beautiful reminder.
Yeah. I think the other thing is to look for signs, the less obvious signs that a child is struggling.
So what would you say those signs could be?
So isolation, no, I'm fine. Everything's fine. This is perfect. This is, what, this is the best for me. This is the way I like life. Actually, this couldn't have come at a better time. We're hearing things like that. And the louder they claim to be okay, the more concerned we become. So there may be some hidden, and that happens generally more so as children come into their teen years, and they are less vulnerable, and they feel they need to show you that they're all grown up, right? I'm all grown up, I'm okay. And there are some other signs, and I get a little concerned. So keeping an eye out for things like self-harm, and negative talk about oneself. These can also be signs. I'm stupid. I'm not getting the work done. I can't keep up. Those kinds of things. So the things that may be them disparaging themselves. These are all key, important. As they're getting further and further away from you, you feel it in your gut. You feel it in your spirit. You've got to try and figure out how to get closer.
And then would you say the best way when you're seeing looking at those signs, how would you approach it? Would you say, this is how I'm feeling. Are you feeling it too? Or would you say, honey, do you want to talk about it? Or how would you approach it?
Yeah, I think that this is how I'm feeling is helpful, because generally children want to be helpful. So they may come forward. sharing stories of times when you might have felt, outside of this period of time, right? Stories of times when you might have felt as a young person that you had it all together, but you actually didn't. And this is how you knew, could be helpful. Maybe helping them to connect with somebody that they will talk to. So there's an aunt, there's a godparent, there's the neighbor, there's a friend, there's somebody that they will open up to, reaching out to that person saying, hey, can you please connect? Can you be closer to my child right now?
Oh,
And most people are willing to do that. They will step up and do that.
100%. Thank you so much. So that was one of the things that you've seen on comment. And then you were about to say 2 more things, but in the meantime, we've had some questions on the chat. So are you okay that I just jump on those and then we'll go back to, awesome. So Amanda says, a friend of mine asked me, how are the school systems and parents monitoring that kids are actually doing what they need to, i.e. their homework and not falling behind on the rest of the year? What are your thoughts on that?
Great question. Great question. I think let's start with the fact that nobody was ready for this, right? We didn't have a plan that we could pull out of the drawer and say, okay, here we are. Now this is what we're going to implement this plan. Initially, most schools, it seems to me, tried to create a continuation. Let's create a continuation of what we've been doing at school. That is impossible. It's totally impossible. First of all, I think the statistics now are that about 40% of students are actually not connecting with their work. And it's for various reasons. There's an equity issue that is glaring. So there are children who don't have internet, that don't have the equipment that they need, are sharing equipment in a home where everybody's trying to work from home. We have schools that don't have teachers who are tech savvy and ready to go, but aren't necessarily admitting that. We have families that are really in crisis. And so those children aren't able to get on. We have families where the parents aren't able to help the children to the degree that they need help. There's all kinds of issues around this. I think it is clear to me at this time that what is important is the habits of mind. So in other words, it's important for children to have routines, to have the ability to think systematically, to organize their workspace, to plan their day, to be responsible for what's been given to them within reason, and to have a voice as to how they learn and how they're going to do the work that's expected. So I advocate for a little bit of pushback to the education system, because you are now, and I just said this in fact to my faculty, I said our parents are now the superintendent, the teacher, the administrator, the vice principal, all those things. Their home is now their school, right? And the children are now running their lives in terms of organizing everything they have to do. This is a new paradigm. And it is a time when we can take a look as parents and as community members to see what is it that we're asking of our children. Is it busy work or is it important? What is the why behind what we're asking them to do? And what is within reason for my child? Or in the case of a teacher, what is within reason for the children who are your students? And that should be different from student to student. This is a big question. And I say to parents, ultimately, you have to make some decisions for your children. Homework, everything now is homework. We're home all day. It's all homework. Is it meaningful? Are your children engaged? Can you get involved? Do you have the time? And if you did, how would you choose to be involved? In other words, let's talk about something simple. Let's talk about mathematics. So the teacher, you have a young child and the teacher is working on coins and money. what can you do at home around coins and money that maybe isn't the worksheet that the teacher sent home, but accomplishes the very same thing and maybe even more. Maybe you're playing the game of life, and through that you're teaching concepts that the teacher would like your child to learn. Maybe you feel like your child should be learning something different right now, and that's okay too. Schools are trying to decide. And I think generally, here in the United States anyway, schools have pretty much decided that they either aren't going to grade, they're going to pass everyone, they're going to do a not yet learned, proficient with distinction. They're really trying to figure this out. But one of the things that I think is fabulous is that the standardized test has gone. It's gone. It's gone. The thing that drives teachers and drives curriculum and standardized tests, it's gone. We have an opportunity right now to create the education that children should be receiving. And as parents, I really implore every parent to take a solid look at what's coming into their home in terms of work, how that is or is not meaningful for their child, how their child best learns, and be an advocate for some kind of change in education. We are at a precipice of change, and parents are seeing it firsthand right now. And so I say, you're in charge. You're in charge. You know your child. And we can make meaning out of education, where education has been nothing but rote memorization and answering to a test. So, I could go on a whole hour, so I'll stop.
There's some excitement there too, in the sense that it is an opportunity to change a system that was a little, or these are my words, my opinion, outdated. 100%. So this leads me to another question I think that you've already kind of answered, which is, my children are worried they will have to be held back another year. Could this be a reality? And then the other side, the other question after that is, what's the long-term effect of all this? What would you like to see happen? So, which you've already kind of touched base, but if you could go a little deeper on both those questions. That'd be great.
I can't say for sure with absolute certainty, regarding children being left back. I can't answer that because every system is going to make decisions on their own. I will say that if you were facing that, I think you would have a very strong case for questioning the thinking behind it, the rationale. Right now, the schools cannot deliver what they promised, and I don't think that they can judge children under these very new circumstances. What I would like to see going forward is something that looks a little like, let's imagine, for instance, a mixed age classroom. So let's imagine again that your child is in second grade going into third grade. And instead of going into just a third grade classroom, what if your child went into a second, third, fourth grade classroom? So that the teacher would be able to teach a range of things, and where your child had some gaps, those gaps could be filled in because you have a range of children in the room. So the teacher would have to know what the goals were for the second grade, the third grade, the fourth grade, would have to get some information from the prior teacher. Okay, what is that second grader coming to me with? What is the third grader coming to me with? What is the fourth grader coming to me with? What do you feel like you didn't get to, right? That is essential, by the way, only what is essential. And then the teacher builds a classroom around those essential pieces that are missing and what comes next. That would be the best solution, I think, to this circumstance. And then the possibility would be team teaching. So the possibility is you'd have a second grade teacher and a third grade teacher in the room, or a third grade teacher and a fourth grade teacher in the room. You'd have the brain power of two talented teachers dealing or addressing where the children are right now. And listen, education should always be where the children are right now. Education should absolutely be tailored to that. Not everyone in the third grade classroom is in the same place anyway, right? And not in every subject. You'd have a child who's really in a third grade classroom doing fourth grade math, but doing second grade reading. There is a continuum, and this is a great time to magnify that fact and step up to that fact. It shouldn't have taken this to get there, but here we are. So I'm hoping that that's what the future looks like. And then the second question is the long-term effect of this. I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball, but I think that we're going to have some mental health, potentially some mental health issues to address. We're going to really have to help kids with sort of the executive function and the social emotional skills that they need to process what's happening and where they are. I think we could come out of this better prepared for life, you know, with life skills. I think we could come out of this stronger, but we have to start talking and thinking about that right now. And I think that's happening in small pockets. And my hope is that these people will all get together and we'll have one brainchild.
I love that. And just to recap a little bit about what you're saying is that we need to continue giving the education at home. Sometimes you don't need to be sticking to the actual coursework that's like word for word that the teacher has provided, is going like into what is the point? What is the really end outcome? What are the principles that are being taught? And maybe through a game, maybe through something else, where really you're looking for something what it is meaningful and to keep your child engaged.
Yeah, and happy as you can under the circumstances, right? Let's put a gold star on happiness. You know, there needs to be happiness, and at this time, that's hard. And so, you know, I don't say it lightly, but I think it's essential. You know, children are spirited and happy, generally speaking, and so how do we keep them spirited and happy, and how does that keep us spirited and happy?
I love that. That's such a beautiful golden nugget of information, because I remember growing up, and for my parents, bless them, always wanted the best for me. I'm very grateful. I felt like it was more important that I learn, that I get good grades, than be happy. Happy, I can be happy, right? It's like the education is very important. And I feel like a lot of parents may have that stress right now of like, I need them to move forward. I can't have them skip a year. It's like that attachment to a system that with what you're saying could be completely different after we've left. So not to get attached to that system and really focus on what matters.
Yeah. I would like to think that children are not threatened with being left back. And I would like to encourage families to reach out to their school districts and ask that question directly and start making some noise now, because that fear should not be sitting in your home. You need to get rid of that fear.
I love that. Thank you so much. And so right now we can continue with, so you had mentioned the first thing that you felt has impacted families and that you've really noticed right now was the size of loneliness, and you went into detail, and you had two more things that you were going to tell us about. So what were those two others?
Well, I think one we've touched on, which is some of these questions around education and schooling. So I think we've touched on that. The other is generosity. So, you know, this is a time, so many of our children and our families are generous, they're spirited and generous, right? They help others, whether it's family members or it's people in the community or so on and so forth. So how do you continue to help at a distance, right? And so I think it's important to have the conversation with your children that this is part of your family culture, if in fact it is, or maybe that this should become part of your family culture. And how can we help others? You know, can we send cards? Can we call the local, you know, elderly care centers and ask if we can send cards? Can we bake something and leave it on a neighbor's doorstep? If we have to go grocery shopping, can we reach out to somebody and say, hey, can I get something for you? What can we do? Can we, you know, make a sign for our first responders and make a little video that says we care and we know you're there for us? You know, can we, I can go on with a million ideas. What can we do? Can we go out and clean if we can get into the parks, and some are closed, but if they're open, you know, can we clean a trail? What can we do? What can we do to continue in a spirit of care, expressing care and empathy, it goes a long way. It makes lots of people feel good, including the person delivering it. And so I think this is a great opportunity to either continue that, if that's been a culture in your home, a practice in your home, and to instill that now more than ever.
I love that. I love that. So looking at how we can be in contribution.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like a lot of times when we're in contribution, we can't be in scarcity or fear on our own. It's like it's the opposite. So if your child is focused, or if you're focused with your children on contributing, then you're not looking at what's lacking within you. So it really totally shifts in a very natural way.
Yes.
And I love these tips. I love how you're saying I could come up with a whole list. I love it because you can come up with a whole list. I don't know if we can. So I love that. So send cards, lead, bake.
Yeah, I think, Jessica, the fact of the matter is that children can come up with a list.
Ooh,
and if they're engaged in making the list, then they're more invested in anything that you do. I mean, even in their learning. So, this is a time to sit with your children and say, what would you like to learn? What are you wondering about? Where are your passions? Do you want to learn to knit? Do you want to learn to write a story? Do you want to learn to animate something? Like, what do you want to learn? And then build their academics into that subject that they want to learn. And you'll get so much more buy-in, and you'll get a better result, and they'll learn it for the rest of their lives because they were intrinsically motivated to learn it. And that's true with care and giving. If they come up with a list and they do it, and it brings a smile to someone's face, or maybe they get a letter back or something of that sort, maybe they don't get anything. They just get the good feeling of the moment, but they thought about that moment. That's much more meaningful. And then it sticks in the brain, it leaves an imprint, and these positive imprints are what's going to carry us forward.
I love that. So I'd love to hear from some of our attendees. I know Tim, Adam, Peter, thank you so much. Amanda, you've already posted a bunch of questions. If there's any new ones, please feel free to add some more. And in the meantime, Karen, a thought popped up is, I don't have children at home, and I'm alone. So I've got my dog to take care of, and that's really it. But I can think of when you have multi-generations at home, right? You have some families that have the grandma, they're like multi-generations at home, different stages of life, lots going on, working from home, cooking, like it's all happening all at the same time. What are your tips and tricks to keep it all sane and organized? And yeah, what would you say to that? What would you say to panic, like, I don't know what to do?
Well, this is interesting, this parallel of things that you've just put forth, because you don't have children at home, you're home with a dog, right? And maybe you have, I'm going to make some assumptions. Maybe you have a sister or a brother or a friend who has children at home, right? So what would happen if you took time each day to say to someone that who has children, and these children, I'm going to call, what would be a good time? Okay, 11 o'clock, I'm going to call, and my dog and I are going to visit with your child.
I love that.
That'll give you 15 minutes for a cup of tea or a quick shower, or who knows what, chop up some vegetables. So that's part of it. Is, I think, again, it's that spirit of giving. We need to figure out how to help each other. I saw the most lovely thing yesterday. We had a student, she is 3 years old, and she had a Zoom meeting with her preschool teachers and her classmates, and her mom set up a computer on the chair behind her, and her grandfather was Zooming in. So she had a Zoom meeting behind her and a Zoom meeting in front of her, and grandpa could see what the class was doing and talk to her about her learning, and mom was able to go make breakfast. But it's just this interesting, right, way that we could use technology to check in on people and to help. So I think that's part of it. I think the other thing is that it's about trying to get your children engaged. So, cooking is a wonderful way to get children engaged. Bring your children into the kitchen. Let's plan the menu. Let's make the grocery list. Let's get the groceries and put them in the cabinet and the refrigerator so child knows where everything is. And then let's make the meal and give children room to help cook beside you. Again, you know, they'll probably eat things you never thought they would eat because they made it. And they'll be proud of it. And I would personally say record it if you could, and then shout it out to people who are going to cheer back and say, wow, that's great. You know, what else can you make? That's helpful. Yard work is helpful. I think it's also important to teach children about quiet time, that everybody needs quiet time. And what does that quiet time look like for you? And it shouldn't necessarily be technology. So it could be a book a child loves, a picture book, or a chapter book, depending on what they're able to engage in. Some time to play some music, some time to dance and be silly. I think that quiet time is an art, yeah. And we could encourage our children to build their ability to extend quiet time.
And I love what you said earlier about having them come up with the lists, right? My first thought was like, okay, what are the options? Like actually sit down, like, oh, what would quiet time look like for you? And they could say, well, drawing, or I could do this, something that we never really, and he's like, mommy, I want to meditate. Right. You'd never think that they would want to try do that, but they'll come up with it. So I really love that. Thank you so much. And I am totally going to take on that I already know, like my cousin, my friend Prema's daughter. I mean, I do a Zoom date, and we can color together. Like I love coloring. We could color together for like a good half hour, and mom can go do whatever she wants to do. Great idea. Oh my goodness, Karen, you're full of great ideas.
I think it's important too for parents to ask. We don't ask for help. We're not very good at asking for help. So, you know, if you know of somebody that your child connects with and you need a break, you have to call a person maybe and say, listen, you might not have thought about this, but if you could do this, it would be wonderful. We need to see other people and I need a break. Can you help me? And 9 times out of 10, I believe that people step up and they help. So we have to learn to ask. In this time of struggle, we need to be asking for the help that we need. And we need to be honest about, you know, when we've got it together and when we need somebody to help us pull it together.
100%. And from the other perspective, from the one that could be helping, right? I'm alone. And to the thought of being able to contribute and to connect and to help, I will feel very useful. I'll feel excited. I'm excited to even offer it to my friends, right? It's not any trouble at all. So go ahead and reach out. And if somebody can't do it, they'll tell you that they can't do it. Especially you've got people who don't have children, who are more free. And then for me, it will be a pleasure to be able to do that. So definitely reach out 100%.
Yeah.
And then I have a question for a different age group. I can think of when I was a teenager. Ooh la la. And I remember my mom's an antique dealer, and I remember going on a camping car trip. She would go and we'd drive all night to go to these like, how do you say in English? These little, anyways, you know, they open really early, and then the antique dealers come out. And she wanted to get
like a yard sale or garage sale.
Yeah, like those things, yes.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking to myself, like, oh my goodness, this thing is smaller than my bedroom, and I'm stuck here with my brother, my mom, my dad, like, I'm going crazy. So I can just put myself back in that, and I'm thinking teenagers right now that are at home who are used to having more independence, right? They're used to going out with their friends, experimenting, trying things, kind of like testing the lines, because that's what we do as teenagers. What is your advice to support our teenagers that are at home and also keep our sanities in terms of parents with our young teenagers?
Yeah, it's not time to dig in and engage in fighting, right? Like the battle. It's not time for that. So you do have to try and give them some autonomy. You have to try your best to trust them, and to be open to them talking to you about things that maybe you didn't really want to know, or was a little bit more information than you wanted. You have to also be willing to kind of step your dip your toe into raising questions and raising concerns and expressing, but you've got to try and do it in caring, empathetic, respectful ways. I think unfortunately we tend to yell, and then everything shuts down, and the house gets loud, and everybody goes to their corners, and there's a little bit of damage done to everyone in those circumstances. So it's not easy. And I think you have to understand that it's not going to be clean, smooth going, that we're going to have hard days and hard moments, and then acknowledge that, yeah, that was hard, but we're better for it, and here's all the ways in which we're better for it. And I'm sorry. I think it's really important to say I'm sorry. We want children to say I'm sorry all the time, but we forget sometimes to say I'm sorry to them, and there are times when we owe them an apology. We absolutely owe them an apology. It's being vulnerable. It's being willing to say, I'm not having the best day, and that wasn't my best parenting moment. So I'm sorry. This is what I see. Did you see it that way? How can we mend that? How can we get to a better place? Because we have to live in this house together. And so what are we going to do to make that possible? It's a tough time. It's a time when any of the soft spots in your family are going to be magnified. And so you have to do your best, and you have to try and create a sense of teamwork. We're really going to invest in it together. And again, it's another time when you could use people to call and to connect with your child that may be more effective in connecting, and maybe even collecting some data for you in a sense. I don't know how she's doing. I don't really know how they're doing. I need a gauge on what's going on. My gut tells me that there's something I should be worried about. If you can get your kids outside, even if it's in the yard, if it's on the sidewalk in front of your home, I think it's very important to get fresh air, and it's very important to get exercise. So thinking about maybe how you exercise with them, or how you might bring in some hand weights and things like that, so that your kid can, build some muscle and exercise. It's important. It's important to get all the blood flowing and
awesome. Thank you so much, Karen. And Peter, I think that you have a question.
Yeah, I noticed that everybody is muted. So yeah, there we go.
Yeah, I made it back on. Sorry about that. Everybody else on the call I had to do. Karen, thank you again for all of your energy and insights. It's amazing. I think I'm going to say something that I think you wholeheartedly agree with, and if not, then we're in trouble. But it was just something I heard as just listening to it from the outside when, just saying, for example, like coloring with the kids for 30 minutes. One thing just anecdotally from my household is if that 30 minutes becomes 3 because the kids have decided that isn't what they want to do anymore, don't fight it. To some degree, you need to accept and hand over some power to them. Because if you say we're going to do this for 30 minutes, we're going to do this for 45 minutes, and this for 50 minutes, you are setting yourself up for pain, suffering, arguments, shouting, I hate you, you're the worst mummy ever, you're the worst daddy ever. Whereas if you go, okay, we don't want to draw anymore, so what is it you want to do?
Yeah.
But I just wanted to kind of throw that in there because we were talking, and I don't want people to. It's just, to me, that's a really important part of. I think you agree.
Yes, definitely, and in all ways. So sometimes you have to take the lead from your children. So yes, you may have planned to color, and they start cutting up the coloring page and want some glue. Then you have to go with it. You should really go with it, and do it alongside them. So they might want to glue, and you might want to keep coloring, but you're there alongside them, and they're sort of, taking the lead in a sense and showing you the way. Vice versa, I would say if you have planned to do something for 30 minutes and it goes for 45 or 60 or 65 or all day, go for it. Man, that's awesome. I've seen some kids like go outside. One of our teachers assigned the kids to go outside, found materials and create a roller coaster. And so I saw a child went outside with mom, and they're creating this roller coaster, and she discovered some worms. And the next thing mom knew, they were making a worm farm. And and then the mom was apologizing to us and be like, please don't apologize. This is brilliant. This is exactly what we want to see. This tells us that the child is fully engaged. It tells us that the child is captivated by something and can take that interest and run with it. And you ran with it alongside her. This is perfection. So taking the lead from children and being we always say, be a researcher. So, you may have decided to color, and what you've discovered is that your child likes to rip all the paper off the crayons because they like the waxy feeling of it. And so then maybe you do something where you make candles because, they like that. You're collecting data. You're always collecting data, and that data is informing you about what you might do next, with your child. And so, yeah, I think you have to be a little looser and a little bit more flexible and willing to kind of go the path they go the flow they go, and engage. Yeah, thank you, Peter.
That was incredible. And my question now in relation to that is, when do you know when you have to set some sort of, I don't like the word boundary very much, but I don't know if that kind of describes it. It's like, when do we go with the flow, and when do we set our standard saying, no, now it's dinner? Or for example, my family, it was dinner time. Dinner time was non-negotiable. Mom made the dinner, and it was dinner time. We're all at dinner, no questions asked.
Right.
So that's in my head, that was like the non-negotiable. How do you, like, it, as a parent, when do you go with the flow, or when is it too much, and vice versa? Like, how do you know?
No, it's a great question, because otherwise you could be running around, the tail of your child in a sense, right? So what is the culture in your house? What are the must do's? We call them must do's around here. Like, you must do this. It may be that you must take a shower, and you must make your bed, and you must come to breakfast, and you must come to dinner, and you must honor your bedtime. So maybe those are your must do's, and then everything else around it is flexible. So then the next question I would ask is, why are your must do's must do's? So maybe you look at this, and together you define why they are your must do's, so that children understand the importance, the essential nature of these things, or so that you all together look at it and go, wait a minute, I don't know why that's a must do. That's really not as important as I once thought. So it's constantly taking a lens to the culture of your home, the rules of your home, and looking at it. Now, I do think that there is a question. The question here is, how do you follow your child's lead all the time? And are you then therefore must be present all the time? Because you can't be present all the time. And so that goes back to maybe one of the must-dos in your home is this quiet time, this independent time. And then you because that's important for your sanity, or for your work, or for whatever reason, right? And you're honoring what each person needs. So it's a little tricky. I think that the parent who is constantly responsive and trying to make the world nice does a disservice to her child. And so that there's a balance, but I think there's a combination of things that go into deciding. I couldn't say for you, for instance, what should be in your home, but I can say that collectively you hopefully make some decisions around that, and you're willing to look at it over and over again.
I think that's the biggest key, is being willing to look it over. I think it's kind of become a constant in our whole conversation today, is really being authentic with ourselves, authentic with our families, owning our mistakes and communicating, owning what we're feeling and communicating without over exaggerating, with fear, just ownership of oneself, and communicating that ownership with love, understanding, and caring. And sometimes we might need to go in the shower and get a good cry in, so that, right, just like get it done so that we can then communicate.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And that it's okay.
We were talking about this morning. I have this amazing faculty, and they have really, like, they're their face to the world has been totally put together. And, you know, I said to them today, I've asked you every day how you are feeling, and you talk to me about students. And today I'm asking you how you are feeling. And you know, the floodgates opened. And I think we do that as parents too. We forget to take those moments for ourselves to just examine truly how we are feeling, and let that feeling like sit with it a little bit and figure out how to manage it, or how to respond to it, or what you need. Because sometimes, you know, we need things that don't align with what our children need, and then we, you know, got to figure it out.
100%. And I feel as parents, a lot of time we forget. Parents forget. I see that with my mom, and she's incredible. She would forget herself a lot. It would be her family first, her kids first, her husband, and then herself. And that's a disservice, right?
Yeah.
It's a disservice. And how did your faculty feel after the floodgates opened? Was it a relief?
I think it was a relief, and I think in part it was a relief, and I think in part it was, oh wow, we didn't know. And I think what will come of it is that, you know, we're a very close knit school, close faculty, and what came out of it is that they missed the interplay between each other and the sounding board, and you know, that was part of it. That's not all of it, but that was part of it. And so I think it will move us to do a few things differently and
Wow,
take better care.
I love that. If they were not able to express how they truly felt, the fact that there was something missing, like the idea of the sounding board and getting together and the play together between the faculty, wouldn't have come to light, and therefore you couldn't have made the changes that you're going to be making right now.
Right.
So it's something out of it, and it was not only a release energetically, but practically, it was incredibly important too.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I was thrilled to see them be vulnerable and to be able to really express ideas and solutions, right? So just what I'm saying about what you should do in your home is what we did as a faculty.
I love that. Yeah. I love that. You're not telling us what to do. You're not saying do what I say, is do what I do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which is the best parenting advice, I think. So we're coming close to the end of our call. Is there something that you'd like to leave us with, a thought, something that's really dear to your heart that you'd like to communicate to our community?
I just want to say that I think we need to keep in mind parenting is not perfect. It's not perfection that you're going for. That parenting is about love and care and empathy and guidance and mentorship and coaching. And it's messy. And just when you think you have it, something happens that makes you feel like you're really off course. And that this is all normal, that, you know, we see these beautiful families on TV, and we see in movies, and maybe even we think our neighbors got this beautiful, you know, groove going with their family, but it's people, and they bring with them all kinds of stuff. And I think as long as you lead with love, and as long as you follow with love, I think that you're gonna get it right. You're going to get it right. And I always say, what you need to know in your heart is that you've done your very best job, and that'll be good. That'll be really good. If you've done your very best job leading with your heart, following with your heart, you're gonna do fine. You're gonna do fine. And no matter what you do, someday your kid's gonna tell you about some story of some terrible thing that you did as a parent, and you're gonna go, oh yeah, okay. but let's talk about all the great things. You know. It'll be fine. I think we're very hard on ourselves as human beings. We want to be perfect, and there's no perfect here.
Oh, thank you so much, Karen. This was so insightful. I feel so blessed and grateful for all your incredible insight and knowledge, and your beautiful smile, and your energy is just so contagious. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for helping moderate. I really appreciate your being here with me. Awesome. And everyone else, thanks for being here, and feel free. You can find me, talk to me. I'm here for you.
Thank you guys so much. I just wanted to do a quick shout out. I appreciate so much the valuable information that I just received from you, Karen, and from Jessica, and from Peter chiming in. And I know some people were more passively listening. I just wanted to say thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it, because I think that a lot of the information that you shared about structure and understanding what's going on with our kids and how to be involved with everything, it's not just applicable to kids, right? It can be applicable to any multi-generation based home or yourself. And one of my favorite techniques is having those online play dates for that reprieve from the parents and from everything. It's a brilliant idea. So thank you so much for our expert hats. Every Thursday you can join us here with Karen for 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we'll see you tomorrow morning. Thank you guys. Have a great day. Just remember that your future is not defined by today. Your future is defined by today, not tomorrow. So the gift is in the present moment, and you guys have the choice. Thank you guys. Have a good one.
Thank you. Be well.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.